All right, y'all. So I promised some more stories. So let's get into today's. When I applied to Peace Corps, I applied for the education sector. And this was because I wanted to be in somebody's school teaching English, like, every day or, every weekday, whatever. And for a long, it's funny though, because, here's another one of those side quests. For a long time, I told myself I was not a teacher. I was never going to be a teacher. Um, and I figured out that I did want to be a K through 12 teacher. Bless the hearts of those who are. That is clearly a calling from God, but it is not mine. I'm gonna leave y'all to it. Y'all do it best. Um, but yeah, but I was curious if maybe teaching like adults or in a different way would be something that I could do because my alma mater, I was helping volunteer teaching English to some of the international students, and I was having fun with that. So I was like, let me see what some of this is about. Um, but oddly enough, Peace Corps ended up putting me in youth development, which at the time it wasn't common to get switched sectors. But went anyway, did the thing. Um, but in Peace Corps, defining work is different. It's different based on the country you are, and just in general, the way Peace Corps goals work. But essentially, according to like Western culture or like American culture, I was working part time, and so I wanted to still get that more like full experience of being a teacher. So I went to Korea, um, and there I taught adults English, and it was almost kind of like a very hard flip flop. Like I barely had vacation, was working really hard, and did that for 2 years and then came on back home. But in that, I learned something. I did learn that I do like that aha moment. I do like imparting information to people. So I felt that maybe more like workshop or facilitation style of teaching would be better for me. Um, and that maybe like career teaching wasn't the way to go. Like I was thinking about getting my master's in TESOL, which is teaching English to second language learners. I think I'm missing an O in there somewhere. So here's how I'm tying this all together, tying that story. That was like a whole chapter of my life where I was trying to figure out, what my profession was going to be. I was fresh out of college. That's the time to do that. Explore, try new things, try different things, figure it out, right? Um, and so somewhere along the way though, after all those years of experience and like even going back for my masters and everything like that, somewhere I had equated my profession to being part of my identity. Like what I did for money was who I was, right? And carried that for years. um, until I got tired of it. Sensing a theme: when I get tired of stuff, that's when things change. So I got tired of like my identity being so tied to my salary and the way that I made money. Um, and yeah, just, you know, tied to this whole idea. And actually, you know what, Gen Z, I'm coming for y'all a little bit because y'all were really the ones that really were pushing like values within work, needing to match your personal values. And while I commend that to an extent, because listen, I drank the Kool-Aid, I was there with y'all, and now I'm off that train. I'm off the train. I need separation from that. Um, I need for my job not to have to be like my end all be all. Um, and so here's what I'm thinking now, right? Um, Thinking about the piece from yesterday, talking about like my positionality and the lens in which I see things, right? Um, because if we're going back to these stories, then I had to ask the question: if my job wasn't my identity, then what was? And in this trying to search for that is when I've been able to kind of start seeing these patterns, right? When I am doing program and project management, I'm finding the gaps in miscommunication, in process breaking down, in evaluation and monitoring. Um, where's the piece that nobody else is naming? Um, when I studied linguistics, I was doing the same thing. I was looking at how the language shapes the culture and the culture shapes the language, and where were the missing pieces there? How were people using words and the way they thought to bridge communication and bridge ideas? So there's kind of like this same instinct to do that, just in a different context. Even when I'm making art, there's a similar vein. How can I connect what I'm feeling or what I'm seeing to something visual or turn it into 3D in a different way? Um, and so still finding that gap between those things. Um, and so when I think about that lens piece from yesterday and really thinking about that niching conversation, right? Niching is asking you to pick the context, pick the tool, right? Pick project management, pick art, pick linguistics. But the instinct underneath, right? Going back to that that child Renee, going back to the instinct. What's underneath all of that? And what's the thing that you're actually good at? What's the thing that you're doing? What's the skill? Because the skill is the tool. The tool is what's portable. And the skills in your tools are what can go with you no matter what you're doing. And at first I couldn't see that when I was trying to tie my job to my identity. That wasn't something I was seeing at first. Because if your job is tied to your identity or who you are, then switching jobs feels like switching identities. It feels like switching parts of yourself, right? And if you're moving through different fields, then again, that's where that like amputation feeling comes in. And it's exhausting. And it feels like you're starting from square one all the time. And it's like, no, you're not starting from square one. You're not starting from the beginning. You might be a learner in a small sense. Maybe there's a learning curve in changing like industries or things like that. But I don't know, when you separate who you are from what you do, you start to realize that yeah, you're not starting from the beginning. You've got so much knowledge and experience and wisdom that you're bringing, and you're bringing that tool, those skills, that lens into a different room. That's all. Um, yeah, that's the lens that you're coming with. Um, and it doesn't matter what the job title is, as long as you're seeing a gap that no one else can see because of the instinct and the skill that you bring. So, my question for you is, what is your lens? What do you see that other people miss?